it's me who can't hear you. 1 second.
She can't hear us.
I can hear you now. Okay. Mm. Um, there's no light, so I'm going to be online from my phone. So I hope you'll be able to see the presentation right now. Um, okay, hold on. Okay. Where's the? Oh, no.
Miss, your phone is going to die.
No, it's okay. I think it'll survive. Um, okay. Can you see this? Can you see the slide where theory in antiquity is written?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Hold on, okay. If I turn my, is it better or is it, it's good? I think this would be better. Can you see this window where, this Gmail window? How do I close this? Oh yeah, like that. You can see, right? Okay. Anyways, I'll take attendance at around, say 11:30. All right, so this semester we're going to learn about classical architecture. Does anyone have any idea on what do we mean when we say classical architecture? What kind of architecture do we talk about? Uh-huh. Okay, anyhow, okay. So can you please update me on what you have learned in your early civilizations class? You don't have to explain it to me, just tell me the points. What all did you cover in early civilization? Is it me or are you guys not talking? I can't hear.
Ma'am, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, the question is, what did you learn in early civilizations class, your previous history class?
Ma'am, basically we learned about the Paleolithic and Neolithic era, and then some megalithic
Mm-hmm.
structures, and
Mm-hmm.
then we moved to the early civilizations, the river civilizations like the Indus Valley and
Uh-huh.
Egyptian Mesopotamia, and then we did that Minoan Mycenaean.
All right. Okay. All right. Okay, good. Okay, so today will be an introductory class. This semester we will be focused only on the classical architecture. Firstly, all right. I believe you have gone through your syllabus, but that is our first unit, learning about classical architecture. Have you heard of the Ionic, Doric, and Corinthian columns? Those orders? So we will be learning about those as well. But since today will be an introductory class, I want you to, and when we talk about classical architecture, we specifically generally mean Greek and Roman architecture. All right, when we say classical architecture, it denotes the architecture styles of the ancient Roman and Greek architecture. All right. But firstly, I wanted to have an introduction on the timeline of the architecture styles, how it evolved, and not necessarily evolved, how it changes with time, and all of that. All right. So, okay, I don't know. To the next one. So the first time that we see this, so you will know better because you've just learned it in your previous semester. So first, the first signs that we've seen is of the prehistoric times, which is from 600 BC to 3500 BC. Shoma, can you please read the slide?
Um, prehistoric times, 1100 and 11,600 BC to 3,500 BC. Before recorded history, humans constructed earthen mounds, stone circles, megaliths, and puzzling structure. Prehistoric architecture.
Sorry, now that will be a problem. Hold on. Where is my screen now? Okay, sorry. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Prehistoric architecture includes monumental structures such as Stonehenge, cliff dwellings in the Americas, and thatch and mud structures lost to time. The dawn of architecture is found in these structures built by man.
Mhm.
And then we have Göbekli Tepe from Turkey and Stonehenge from Walshire in England.
Okay, so these are the first structures, the first in the architecture sense known to men. So these are dated as a prehistoric times architecture. All right, and like I said, this is introductory. We will learn about what is it? Uh, um, typology. What is that? Terminology. Terminology about what is touch. Maybe it's unclear to a few of you. Like we will learn about little. What is megalith? Do we know all this? Megalith are basically huge stone structures, all right, like the Stonehenge that we see here are megaliths, are these stone structures. All right, let's move on. These are dated in the prehistoric times. Remember, this is just an introductory class that we are having today. All right, we're not going to the main topic yet. And is Aditya here? Can you read this? I can't look at this because you close it.
Yes, ma'am.
Aditya, can you
Yes,
please
ma'am.
read this for me?
Yes, ma'am. Egyptian architecture from 3100 to 2040 BCE. Design was monumental but not architecturally complex and employed posts and lintels rather than arches. Although Egyptian expertise is in stone had a strong influence on later Greek architecture. Example, the step pyramid of Djezor, 2630 BCE, designed by Imhotep, one of the greatest architects of the ancient world, and the Great Pyramid of Giza, 2550 BCE, also called the Pyramid of Khufu or Pyramid of Cheops, the oldest of the seven wonders of the world, as compiled by the Antipater of Sidon, from 170 to 120 BCE.
Okay, so next, after the prehistoric times, so Egyptian, name was prehistoric. Prehistoric is very general. Now we are coming based to region. So in Egypt, these are again one of the very early signs of the sense of architecture that we've seen in the historic timeline. All right. So I think there are no, we know what are lintels. Do we know all the arches? I believe everyone knows what are lintels. Can anyone tell
Uh,
me?
Ma'am, the part that is on that we make on top of the windows and doors to support the upper weight.
Okay. In this Egyptian architecture, in the prehistoric sense, that will vary a bit because uh, there was no, implication of windows or openings or such as that. We will learn about all these terminologies later on in the class. All right. Okay. Thank you, Aditya. And I'm just recalling whoever names I can remember. Mary is from this class, right? Mary Lalompu, is she here?
Yes, miss.
Okay. Can you please read this?
Sumerian architecture. Meanwhile, in Mesopotamia and Persia, the Sumerian civilization was developing its own unique building, a type of step pyramid called a ziggurat. But in contrast to the pyramids of the Egyptian pharaohs, ziggurats were not built as tombs but as man-made mountains excuse me, to bring the Sumerian rulers and people closer to their gods who supposedly dwelt high up in mountains to the east. Ziggurats were constructed from clay-fired bricks, often finished with colored glazes.
Okay, so here we have a picture of a typical ziggurat. I believe maybe you have seen this somewhere. All right, so after the Egyptian architecture, then we see the Sumerian architecture. The timeline is given. Some may be clashing because it's happening simultaneously. All right. So, and after, let's read this one. Ashmita, yeah. Can you read this? Okay. So this is an illustration of what it might have been done by archaeologists. Now, basically, we just have the remains of these. All right, so we only see the remains, and then the sketches and the drawings were done by the information that was gathered from the archaeologists' notes. All right. One second.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah, Aditya.
Ma'am, why is it written Great Ziggurat of Ur in the Minoan Palace in the second picture?
Why? What? Can you tell? Can
Ma'am,
you
in
repeat
the
that?
slide, I can't see the screen.
Huh.
In the
Okay, sorry.
second picture, it's written Great Ziggurat of Ur.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What? Yeah. What
It's
about that?
it's a Minoan Palace. It's just the Palace of Knossos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
What?
thought like
The question is. Yeah.
that's what I was asking. Like, why is it written Great Ziggurat of Ur?
Oh, this is a typical this is the remains of the these are not necessarily related, all right. So these are the kind of remains that we have seen, all right. And this is just a picture. It's not the Great Ziggurat of Ur. Like this one is um, these two pictures are not the same, all right. So these are the kind of remains that we have seen. I may
No,
add like
no, ma'am, ma'am, Great Ziggurat
what
of
are you
Ur was
asking?
the previous one. Like can you go to the previous slide?
Okay, okay, all right. So basically,
Yes.
This
yeah.
is the Great Ziggurat of Ur.
Yeah. So this is a sketch that this is a sketch that no, I have actually done I think on my this thing messed up. This is actually this. It's good that you pointed it out. I have done a naming mistake over here. All right, this is actually the Great Ziggurat of Ur. All right. So this is the palace of this palace which is illustrated. All right. Good that you pointed it out. I must when I copied it, I must have copied the same thing and forgot to edit that. All right, Aditya.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Good that you pointed it out. I will make that change. All right. So yeah, this is that, and this is the palace. This is this palace, which is from the remains, the sketch, the drawing that has been made out of this. All right. Okay. And I'd like you to actually, what is that? Repeat that. I mean, if there's a mistake, I mean, I can make mistakes as well. Always feel free to point me out. All right. It's good because it will benefit all of us, including me and all of you. All right. Thank you, Aditya. And let's see, is he there?
Yes, miss.
Okay, can you please rephrase? Now this, wait, hold on, okay? This will be like, this will be the things that we are learning about in this semester, the classical architecture. So it starts from, we'll talk about Greek and Roman architecture, basically. That's what I'm telling. So, okay, Sanfrona, please read.
Architecture timeline. Greek architecture. The history of art and architecture in ancient Greece is divided into three basic eras. The Archaic period, 600 to 500 BCE, the Classical period, 500 to 323 BCE, and the Hellenistic period, 323 to 27 BCE. About 600 BCE, inspired by the theory and practice of earlier Egyptian stonemasons and builders, the Greeks set about replacing the wooden structures of their public buildings with stone structures, a process known as petrification. Limestone and marble was employed for columns and walls, while terracotta was used for roof tiles and ornaments. Decoration was done in metal like bronze. The most common types of public buildings were temples, municipal structures, theaters, and sports stadiums. Principles of Greek architecture, classical orders, the Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian. The
Okay, thank you.
Acropolis complex. Yes.
Okay, so have you ever heard of the Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian? Anyone has any idea? Or can you guess? Okay, it's a style of a column. All right, you must have seen those intricate columns that we have seen here. When we go deeper into the topic, then we will look at all these things in details. All right, these are very important columns. These are Doric, Ionic, and Corinthians are the names of columns. All right, and they're different styles. So these are called as the classical orders, and then we will be learning about that later on in the class. All right. Okay, thank you. And is David here?
Ma'am, excuse me. Ma'am,
Mhm.
actually, Pratik from our class is actually texting me that he's trying to join the class from a long time, but he's not being let in.
Oh, okay, hold on.
Yes, miss. Others also.
Okay, wait. Just a second. But I don't. Okay. I believe those are okay. I think that's it, right? Okay. Let me know if anyone is trying to enter this. Can I give? Oh, never mind. Okay, David, are you here?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Can you please read this for me?
Roman architecture, 509 BC to 4 AD. It initially served the needs of the Roman state, which was keen to impress, entertain, and cater for a growing population in relatively confined urban areas. Drainage was a common problem, as was security. This, together with Rome's growing desire to increase its power and majesty throughout Italy and beyond, required public buildings to be imposing, large-scale, and highly functional. Later, as the empire spread, the Roman architects seized the opportunity. Mr. Khan.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. The opportunity to create.
Opportunity to create towns from scratch, designing urban grid plans based on two wide streets. A north-south axis, the Cardo, and an east-west axis, the Decumanus. This town center was located at the intersection of the two roads. They also built upwards. Ostia Road.
Okay. Okay, thank you, David. And okay, let's move on. Since let's not go too much detail onto this, since we're going to learn about it in detail in the next class. Anyway, so do we know who Marcus Vitruvius Polio is? You must have heard of Vitruvius. Have you? Does anyone know who Vitruvius is?
That's the richest man in Rome.
Is he?
Yes.
I don't know about him being the richest, but okay, in the architecture sense, do we have any information that we know about him other than I am not I don't know, right, if this is true, whether he's the richest man or not, but yeah. So okay, anyways, maybe this is new to you. That's why I wanted to give an introductory part. Here's okay. We will read it.
Ma'am, I think he's related to that sketch. Yeah, this sketch.
That's the reason I was
I remember that
Yeah.
sketch because the proportions
that-
of a man for the architecture.
Now everyone's sure. This what is this figure called?
a Vitruvian man.
Okay, yeah. So okay, let's read about it. I can't see your names. Somebody please volunteer and read. Anyone? Aditya, read. Can you read it again?
Sure,
No one's
ma'am.
volunteering.
Marcus Vitruvius Polio from 80 to 70 BC after c. 15 BC, commonly known as the Vitruvius, was a Roman author, architect, civil engineer, and military engineer during the 1st century BCE. Known for his multi-volume work entitled De Architectura, his decisions was perfect proportions in architecture and the human body led to the famous Renaissance drawing by Leonardo da Vinci, the Vitruvian Man. Vitruvius is sometimes loosely referred as the first architect, but it is more accurate to describe him as the first Roman architect to have written surviving records of his fame. In his book, he explained the theory of architectural order of pillars as well as the shapes and the types of temples and introduced rules of design for houses.
Okay, so now we know who Marcus Vitruvius Polio is. All right, he was a Roman architect, though he had many other designations, but more importantly, he was an architect. So please always remember that we consider him as the first architect, not because he's the first architect, but because he's the only one who has who still has written records of the drawings that he has made, the theories that he has followed. All right, he was basically the first theorist to have documented his ideas and philosophies of architecture. All right, that's why we refer to him as the first architect. There were many other very other grand structures which were built before before Vitruvius, but then we are considering him as the first architect because of the works that are documented and we can still access it to this day. All right, it was actually properly theorized and put in a book. All right. Okay, and this is the Vitruvian Man. And so let me just read this since it's short. Without symmetry and proportion, there can be no principles of design in of any temple. Basically, in the olden days, most of the structures that they built, especially where they put their design sense into it, were mostly temples and worship places. All right, so that's why particularly it says temple over without symmetry and proportion. This is a quote of his. There can be no principles in the design of any temple. That is, if there is no precise relation between its members, as in the case of those of a well-shaped man. So he very much idolized the human figure as a perfect proportion. All right, that's why he feels that the human proportion. There are he feels that the human proportion is the perfect ideology that we can base our design on. You must have known about even the golden ratio and all of that things we base our design on to. All right, so for him that was his main inspiration was the proportion of the human body. All right, and okay, Pratik, can you read this?
Yes, ma'am. The Architectura asserted that there were three principles of good architecture: firmity, durability. It should stand up robustly and remain in good condition. Ut- utility. It should be useful and function well for the people using it. Venusteritis, beauty. It should delight people and raise their spirits.
Okay, so this is just a depiction. So basically, when you like even now you are going to have your design that is going to go on. So basically, this is his concept of the three principles that he used to base his concept on. He always focused on these three things. But now we would say that these are very obvious. Like for example, durability, utility, beauty. Even though we feel today that these are very obvious things that we should add on. It is still important that he mentioned that because he was the first to actually pinpoint and write it down that these three things should be kept into a very important account. All right. So these are the three principles on the three main principles on which he used to base his design on. All right, and proportion that with the thing we talked about, the human proportion will be mostly in terms of the visual aspects. All right, because beauty is a part of one of the three principles of the design that he has followed. All right, and this is long. Can someone read this? I can't, like I said, I can't really see who your names here. Can someone please read this? I can't. Shreya? I can barely remember names. Shreya? Is Shreya here?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Can you please read the first two paragraphs?
Yes, ma'am. The theory of Venus or beauty is a very complicated one. Where is wish true that time?
Vitruvius.
Ma'am, can I
Vitru.
just? Ma'am, I'm not in feeling well.
Okay. Shreya, it's fine. We'll let somebody else read it. Just listen. All right. Um, who else? Names. I can't.
Ma'am, you
Somebody
can
please
just
read
pick
this.
the roll numbers. We have roll number 1 to 29, so you can just
Okay.
pick the roll
Roll number
number.
10. Yeah, that's a good idea. Roll number 10.
Yes, miss.
Okay. Who's
The
this?
theory of
Lal Om Pui. Okay.
Lalompuy.
Okay.
The theory of Venusta's or beauty is a very complicated one. Vitruvius thought that a timeless notion of beauty could be learned from the truth of nature, that nature's designs were based on universal laws of proportion and symmetry. He believed that the body's proportions could be used as a model of natural proportional perfection. When the Greeks invented the architectural orders, Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian, it gave them a sense of proportion, culminating in understanding the proportions of the greatest work of art, the human body. This led Vitruvius in defining his Vitruvian Man, as drawn later by Leonardo da Vinci, the human body inscribed in the circle and the square, the fundamental geometric patterns of the cosmic order.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Lal Om Pui. Can roll number 14 read the remaining texts?
Yes, miss.
Okay.
He wrote of the way ancient scholars examined many examples of well-shaped men and discovered that these bodies shared certain proportions. He showed that the ideal human body fitted precisely into both a circle and a square, and he thus illustrated the link that he believed exists between perfect geometric forms and the perfect body. In this way, the body was seen as a living rule book containing the fixed and faultless laws set down by nature. Vitruvius described the human figure as being the principal source of proportion.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I believe there is nothing here to not understand. Um, and the Vitruvian Man, you will have to do, I'll give you an assignment. Vitruvian Man, you'll have to study on your own and give a report and a sketch. All right. I'll tell you that at the end of the class. Um, so this is that Vitruvian Man figure that we have seen, and the thing that he talked about, the it being the square, and a perfect circle being fit onto it. All right. So, and there are a few set of rules saying that the head should be this much of the arm, the two. The length of 2x of the arm should be this, and then all those details are there. You can find it on the internet. All right, so we will have an assignment regarding that. So this is I haven't written the name. This is the Basilica di Fano. All right. So this is in the book that Vitruvian has written. This is the first details of the architectural details that we can see in the architectural book. All right. Can roll number 18 please read this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
This building is the only structure known to have been designed by the great Roman engineer and author Marcus Vitruvius Pollio. No remains of the basilica have survived to the present day. Nonetheless, we know a lot about the structure because Vitruvius described it in some detail in his treatise De Architectura. This building is representative of the Roman basilica form, a vast open hall covered with a roof supported on long-span timber trusses.
Okay. Okay, so we can safely say that this is one of the uh, first architecture, the earliest architectural drawings, proper architectural drawings that we can see that is being recorded. All right, this is named as Basilica di Fano. All right, which is designed by Marcus Vitruvius Pollio. Never, always please make sure that when you know a fact, this is not necessarily the first architectural building. All right, it's just that the first that has been recorded by Marcus Vitruvius Pollio in his book. All right. And okay, let's not read this. So that will all be the introductory part for today's class. Since this is the first class, we'll have a shorter class. We are having a shorter class today. Now the time is 11:30. You still have an ample time. And I wanted to give you an assignment on the Vitruvian Man. You have to write a report on the Vitruvian Man. You can find lots of details on the internet. You can do your research. You have to make a sketch and on an A4. All right, write it down. It has to be handwritten, not typed. All right. So you make the sketch on your own. of the Vitruvian. You've seen that. Now, this is just the details of the building. Maybe I'll share this with you later on, but this is not necessarily part of your syllabus as it is. All right, it's just basically describing this. But for your interest, then I can share this. I will share this with you later on. All right. So your assignment, you can start it now. You still have you have library right after this. So you're not going to really do that much. And I don't know what's the scene of your design. So you can utilize this time, and you have to, let's say, submit it by the weekend or before next class. Suggest me. We have always a week in between the classes. What do you suggest? When should we do the submission? Actually, okay, since no one is suggesting, let me make okay, since no one is suggesting, we still have 1.5 hours left. Can you finish it within this time? And you can submit it by the end of the day, by say 6 p.m. Is that fine?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
that we will know that
Yes,
this time
ma'am.
is being utilized. Yeah, Aditya, it's fine, right?
Ma'am, how many? Yes, ma'am. How many sheets can we use for the report? Like
You can
research?
use, some people's handwritings are very big. So in one page, you will have the Vitruvian Man. All right, just dedicate one page to the figure, and then the others, depending, maybe it'll take around 2 to 3 pages. It's not a lot. All right, and it's point wise. The details of the Vitruvian Man that you will find, it'll be written point wise. All right.
Okay, and one more question. Like in
Yeah.
other classes, we are told to make like a title bar and everything. So do we have to do the
No,
same for this too?
no need. But then your name has to be clearly written somewhere on the sheet. You don't need to make a title bar for this. It's just an A4 sheet. All right. So this is basically a theory class. In other design studio, basic design, all those, you'll have to make those title sheets. But in theory class, you do not need that. Maybe you can have a cover page where your name and roll number is clearly written and your semester, and then the subject name and the course code. So you will have a cover page, and then you'll have the figure page, and then the write-up of the description of the Vitruvian Man. All right.
Miss,
So utilize the
And
time that you have.
Miss,
Yes.
we need to go for lab
so
study.
may I suggest, so today we need to have a live visit, so can we submit it by weekend?
That's
or
what I kept
maybe
asking you. No one spoke.
for
No
next
one
class?
spoke. I kept asking you.
Yeah.
So what do you have to do? Live
We
case
need to
study.
have a live site visit of our locals B&B, bread and breakfast, bed and breakfast.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, all right. Okay. So that's what I kept asking you. No, you could have spoken up that time. Okay, let's submit it before Monday then. Is that fine? But
Okay.
I don't want many emails. So, and Aditya always has to be the one to compile it. So I think let's take turns. He doesn't have to be the one who keeps doing it all the time. So let's this time let me